Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the We Believe You podcast. I'm your host, Steven. I'm here with my co-host, Lonnie.
I was totally going to introduce myself.
Not allowed.
Oh, well, you can do it now.
And I'm Lonnie.
And we're here with some other people today. We have our good friend Kayla here from the I Want to Wear Your Skin podcast. Say hello.
What up?
And our friend Kyle's over here, too. I don't know if he's going to say anything, but he's in the room with us.
Yo.
There he is.
Ooh.
Joined, as always, by a bunch of loud dogs, Eric, Birdie, and Ridley today. We're sitting here after the Super Bowl. We've been talking about aliens and ghosts all day, so we decided to record some shit for you. We got some neat stories, some personal stories. We got one of Kayla's stories, which is a fun one, which kind of sparked this whole thing. And just a few other things that really have nothing to do with what we've been talking about. I'm going to get it started with, have you guys heard the story of the 3-year-old kid who went missing in North Carolina? And there was a snowstorm going on. He disappeared, not wearing anything good for the snow. And he was found totally safe and sound. And he claims that a bear looked over him and kept him safe for 3 days and then
What
returned
the
him.
fuck?
Yeah.
Like took him to like his bear den?
That's
Or like a mama bear adopt him as a cub?
yeah, and then I guess there are bears in the area. I've seen some discrepancy on that. There's people in the area that are like, yeah, there's totally bears, and then like people that don't live there are like, there's no bears.
Wait, where was this at?
It's in North Carolina, and yeah. And so I think there's there's already been people diving in saying that the kid was taken care of by a Bigfoot.
Okay.
So which is why I'm diving into it now. Other than that, it's just a fucking weird story.
I mean, I feel like a bear would maul a child like immediately, but like I feel like a squatch is like 50-50.
Yeah.
I trust a squatch more with my baby.
Yeah, and no, I
Than a bear.
I didn't do the research that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to look up squatch sightings in the area and see if like it's a common thing.
Yeah.
Because like if this happened in our general area, I'd be like fucking squatch.
Oh yeah.
It's like we live within like an hour of Mount Rainier.
Well, isn't there like every single forest in America? Isn't there some kind of Sasquatch
There's some kind of woodland
mythos
ape.
in there?
There's like I think the Midwest has the skunk ape.
What?
And then
that's not real.
And then there's Sasquatch here. I learned recently that there's like an evil version of Sasquatch called the Skookum. And that's like, you see the word Skookum around up here in the Northwest, like Skookumchuck Ridge and...
Is that like a
thing,
Pokemon character when they evolve up?
Skookum?
Like
I gotta go catch the skookum in
It
that
was-
guy's front
There's
yard.
the
Yeah,
There's
it was
the
just a real nice Sasquatch, and now it's the Skookum.
There's the Skookum River up here and everything. It's like up on the peninsula, you see that a lot.
Oh shit!
And like
Okay.
up in BC too, it's like a... And I think at some point somebody tried to make it like cool slang up here, like Skookum was like meant like yeah, groovy, cool, and like obviously that didn't.
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah, seriously. It's like oh, dude, that's Skookum, bro. Like obviously that's not gonna work.
Oh my god.
Where my mind first went with that is if it was a bear versus Sasquatch was why is that kid the lucky chosen one to get to hang out with Sasquatch for 3 days? Well, I don't want to do that. Why was he the chosen one? And he's not even old enough to like really tell us what happened.
And like I'm potentially thinking I'm not trying to accuse anyone in the family of anything.
Yeah.
But like some other weird shit could have gone down. Like this could be a total another hoax.
Well, I just want to be like, are his parents divorced? Because that sounds like when your dad picks you up for the weekend and forgets to drop you off, and then he's like, tell your mom that it was Sasquatch, that I didn't fuck up.
I'll get you whatever you want.
Because that just sounds so much like something my dad would have fucking done.
Kind of what happened, like from the gist of the article that I read, is like there was 3 kids playing outside.
Okay.
And like the weather started to turn real bad, and then 2 kids came back and 1 kid didn't. But like they said, the kid wasn't dressed for the weather. Then why do you have a 3-year-old kid out in the fucking snow?
Just like out there, like
Yeah, I mean,
just
you're obviously not far enough to completely disappear, but they sent out like search and rescue crews for the kid.
okay.
Like the cops went out, like the neighbors went out, and then I guess the weather turned and they had to bring everybody back, and they just assumed the kid was dead.
Oh god.
And then like I'm guessing a neighbor. I don't know how far away he was found from home, but like somebody just like found the kid in like a fucking bush. He was just he was just
Jesus.
crying, and he was like totally fine. And so
Do you think maybe the kid was annoying and the Sasquatch was just like, yo,
Fuck
you gotta
that.
go
Fuck this
home.
kid.
I
Yeah.
can't.
Like, fucking
Just can't.
or
pack it up.
I don't know, like we all love like true crime shit and mysteries, so like a part of me too is like, did he get like picked up by a neighbor?
Oh, see that? I mean, like,
This could get some dark, sinister
that's what
shit
I feel
going.
like most likely happened, and I don't want that to be true, so I'm just gonna.
I think the kid just got out.
I immediately pictured that it was a
Yeah.
neighbor
You
who
know,
abducted
just got
him,
out.
but the neighbor was a furry in like a Winnie the
Maybe it
Pooh
was a
costume.
furry, or maybe just very hairy and scraggly.
Yeah.
By the way, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So I just had to get into that. I just had to launch with that because I thought that was a weird fucking story that I heard recently.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, apparently he was missing for 2 days.
Oh, we got Kyle back here with the fact checking. I like this.
Oh,
Pull that
yes.
shit up, Kyle.
Yeah, he was gone for 2 days, and I guess it was like near freezing, and he wasn't dressed for the weather. And he said he was hanging out with a bear the whole time. They found him stuck in some briar bushes.
Yeah.
That's
Just found
nuts.
one.
It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
What's
Like-
sad is I bet you people are gonna hunt for that bear now.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Poor bear.
There's just a bear around grabbing children.
I can't. I
Making them
can't.
live
It's
with
North
them?
Carolina, so you know there. Nothing gets me harder than killing
Mm.
bears that saved a child.
Ain't no bear take my baby. That's my baby. Get that bear out of here now.
Don't come back here now.
Don't come back here now.
I'm sorry. Anyway.
Oh, too ridiculous.
Also, I was just since we talked about ghosts the last 2 weeks, but I was also going to bring up a user or a submitted story to us. From a guy named Jeff Sifferman told me this story.
Okay.
Some of you guys might know him. He plays in a band called Coyote Bread.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's in Amsterdam. Some cool bands. You should check them out if you're like pop punk music. You will like him. But he told me a story from when he was a little kid, and this would have made more sense when we were telling our stories last week about like little kid stories and whatnot. But I guess it was his aunt had bought a new house, and they were just checking it out, helping move in and whatnot, and he went into the basement. Was just kind of wandering around, and there was an old lady down there in the chair. He talked to her for a little bit.
There's just a chair in the basement?
Yeah, because like part of it was like there was still furnished stuff from the previous owners,
Oh, no, thank you.
and so he goes upstairs, and like his aunt and mom are there, and he's just like, "Yeah, I was just talking to the lady downstairs," and they're like, "What?" And then they're like, "There's nobody downstairs," and they go downstairs, and there's nobody there, and yeah. So that was a fun little story that.
And then he
Jeff's-
burned that house down, and his family had to find a new place to live.
I really, yeah.
Like,
I had
how
a
do you
kid
come
that
back
was-
from that? Was he like a young kid?
Yeah. So
How
he
do you fucking come back from that?
he had said that he didn't really remember it, but it was like a story that like his mom and like aunt told him.
That's even worse.
Right.
That's even worse. Oh my god. Yeah, that's terrifying.
creepy.
I personally have never had any experiences with the supernatural in terms of like ghosts or demonic beings or like shadow people or presence. And it's not because I'm like skeptical to the point where I don't believe that those are real. I'm the kind of person that's so fucking terrified of that I just put it out into the universe like, yo man, I'm cool. Like, I won't come into your space and fuck with you. So like, please don't introduce yourself to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm shy.
But no, so,
I don't want to interact.
But you've also done some like witchy shit. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you avoid that when you're doing your thing?
Sheer ignorant willpower. I open up my third chakra and I say, please leave me alone. Yeah, I'm thankful that I haven't experienced any of it, especially because I feel like experience it as an adult would make people judge my experiences more harshly. Like, oh, that lady's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like, because I already look abnormal. Like I move through the world looking like a weirdo. So the last thing I need is people being like, yeah, man, and she's seeing things. She's hallucinating ghosts. Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, I don't discredit or doubt your guys' experiences or your stories at all. I think that it's very...
You're allowed to.
No, but truthfully, like, I don't. Like, I feel like everyone, like, different people experience different things depending on, like, how open they are to those experiences. Yeah. And since I'm so personally closed off, I probably will never have that kind of experience.
Everyone's tuned into a different frequency.
Yeah, and I, like, have my hand on the knob holding it into off.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and in fact, if I probably didn't have my story today, I probably would be 100% skeptical.
Yeah.
But because of what I think I experienced as a kid, it keeps myself open to other possibilities, even though I haven't experienced it. But like, I still don't think God's real. So sorry.
Well, I vaguely remember your story, but I'm excited to hear it again because I remember bits and pieces of it, but I could also be confusing it with other stories I've heard and listened to. But
which is fair because I feel like a lot of people's stories are super similar in terms of this, especially when it's like kid stories involved.
Yeah.
I will definitely get into it, but first I'm gonna blast off with a whippet.
Do
because
it.
I think if I'm gonna talk about outer space, I should be.
You should go to the moon.
In
That's
outer
totally
space.
Cool.
Go to outer space.
So y'all, if you're at home, chilling out, relaxing, load a bowl, load a whippet, drop some acid,
do whatever.
Be cool. Be cool.
Whatever,
just be cool, guys.
Whatever you want to put in your body to have a good time.
While Kayla's doing that, I can tell my experience is short and sweet. I was in high school. My friend and I, in my house, I was on the balcony in my bedroom, and her and I were just sitting there talking, summer night, and stars perfect. You can see them, and I said, oh look, you can see a satellite. And it's going across the sky, and then out of nowhere, a second one appears, and it's like going a little bit behind it. And I was like, oh look, a second one. And then a third one appears, and I was like, that's weird. Now there's three, and they're going in a perfect triangle across the sky. And we're just like watching them, and we're like, this is weird. And at the same,
a perfect geometric triangle,
like perfect. And it was so weird, and we were just sitting there silent, staring at this, like, this is really weird. And then at the same time, all three of them shoot off in the same direction to where it left like a little streak behind it.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Swear. Believe me, please.
I do believe you.
And it all shot off at the same direction at the same time, left little streaks behind them, and then they were just gone. And my friend and I were just silent, and we looked at each other, and she like looked like she was about to cry, and she just goes, I'm gonna go home now. I was like, I'm gonna go to bed. We were freaked out. I was like, I don't like this.
Oh my god.
That was the only time I ever any UFO kind of sighting.
Well, we had our weird experience last summer. We were in Sunnyside, Washington. We were there actually for my grandfather's funeral. And we were heading up to my uncle's house, which if you've ever driven through that part of Washington and you pass Sunnyside, there's like a big water tower up on the hill, and my uncle like lives up there. And so we were heading up the backside of that hill from the freeway, and we noticed something like up in the sky, just kind of floating around. And we're like, oh shit, that's like looks like a UFO.
It was black.
Yeah, it was just like a black disc, but it was like floating around. It wasn't like going anywhere. It was just kind of like going back, like it was caught in the wind. And so we jokingly, we're saying, oh, it's like a UFO. And as we're driving like closer, because it was kind of on the other side of the hill that we were driving up. And that's when we noticed like other people standing in the road looking at it. And we're like, oh shit. So we like literally pulled over and like talked to these people that were watching it for a minute. And then I pulled out my phone and I filmed some of it and I posted it to UFOsightings.com. And actually, if you go on YouTube and type in Sunnyside, Washington, flying saucer or UFO sighting, it comes up on YouTube. And there's people literally just going, fake. It's like, and it's like, yeah, motherfucker. Like, someone's like, yeah, Photoshopped. It's like, yeah, dude, that was taken with my Samsung Galaxy S7.
No, man, that
Still
was
fishing for that.
that was
Samsung
filmed in
sponsor.
a fucking Hollywood basement studio.
No, but the thing is, like,
It was weird because it was not. There was no wind that day, and the way it was floating, it looked like the wind could have been like just slowly letting
Yeah.
it float across the
what
sky.
it
That's
honestly,
It was weird, and
what
this
it
guy in his
honestly-
yard just goes, "Are you guys seeing that
Yeah.
shit?" We're
That
like,
was so
"This is
weird to have like a communal experience too, where it's
Yeah.
like you're not alone, like you're
Cal,
you're
you pull
with
that shit up.
you're with
Type in,
people.
Sunny
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
people
like,
in their
and
yards
everyone's like
and-
reacting, like
YouTube.
that's fucking nuts. Like I don't even know what I would do.
Yeah, and then I was like, well, maybe it's an umbrella
Yeah, we thought it was like a patio umbrella.
because of
That
the
it
way
somehow
it was
got
shaped.
sucked up into a breeze.
So
The way it was
is like,
shaped, because it was like,
is the
we're like-
weather?
but it wasn't. It was
Because
so
the thing is
beautiful
that,
out.
is that
no
everyone's
wind.
like, oh yeah, like it's always like a weather balloon. Like, so the honest question, this isn't me being like sarcastic. Is there just 1,000 bajillion balloons released by the weather people
Right.
blowing around like
It's-
fucking crazy, like willy nilly? Because I've never seen a weather balloon in my life.
Yeah, it was.
What?
Yeah, I'm a 30-year-old
I got a
woman,
que-
and I
got a question.
haven't seen it.
Why
Yeah.
do you need a fucking balloon to know what the weather is?
I don't.
You just look outside.
Y'all don't have Google? Y'all can't Google what the weather is?
No.
No.
It was in Sunnyside a year ago.
This one, the way it was black. It was like a black, just. I hate even saying the word, but like saucer shaped thing. Like it was. Because from far away, we're like, maybe it could be an umbrella, just because like they have that point and they come down. We're like, well, maybe it's that, and it's just kind of like going through the sky.
Oh, that's weird.
It was really weird.
It's like it wasn't even like a light. It was like a black
Yeah.
blob.
Yeah, like it could have been a drone, but it was silent. We couldn't hear it, and drones are pretty loud.
I couldn't hear a thing, and it just was going across the sky, and then it like went over the hill. And
Yeah, it just kind of disappeared, and we're like, all right. And I only filmed it for a little bit, but like,
I filmed it on my phone too, but I think I deleted the video. So I was like,
yeah. But and then
Totally.
another crazy part too, though.
Oh, is this it?
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. So this is what it says: UFO sighting in Sunnyside, Washington, on July 11th, 2017, is the YouTube
Oops.
video of it.
Yeah. Shut up.
Um,
You find it again. Look at the comments. It's hilarious.
But yeah, definitely not photoshopped at all. And
think
now
somebody-
I feel bad for all those people that have these experiences where people are like fake, and then they like come, and then people make them out to be like they're crazy, but it's like, well, people think we're crazy now because we have this video, and they're like, oh, that's fake, and it's like, well, no, it's not though.
Doesn't someone even say that's not Sunnyside?
Like,
Yeah, this is like totally filmed like Medford. Like this is.
but
This
what
totally
were we
isn't
even
a small
in
town in
Sunnyside for?
Washington.
For my grandpa's
It was
funeral.
it was his grandpa's funeral.
But then another weird
we
thing
were
though.
driving back to his uncle's house for the like the lunch after
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
funeral
And
service
now I'm
in
not
the
sure.
graveside.
I'm not sure it was this time, but another time involving Sunnyside was we left my uncle's house one point, went back to Ellensburg, and then Rachel texted me saying that there was like a weird like fireball thing that was like shooting across the sky,
Fuck
but it
that.
wasn't like. And if my family is saying something weird happened,
Yeah.
they don't believe in any of this shit.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
were like, we think my sister was literally like, I think I just saw a UFO.
That's fucking nuts.
What are the comments?
One says, boy, this shit fake as hell.
That's awesome.
Boy, this shit fake as hell.
And this is a quote. That wasn't there, nigga. I live in Sunnyside.
But like that was Sunnyside.
We were in Sunnyside. We were up by the water tower.
Yeah, if I would have turned the phone
Could I?
80 degrees the other direction, you would have saw the water
I
tower.
want to show Kayla.
I responded to some
13 seconds long. This is what we were seeing.
What?
of them. Right?
Just going across the sky. That was it.
I should have posted longer video, but like
That's
it didn't
fucking
change.
weird.
Yeah. So
I wish I didn't
That's
delete mine
crazy.
now.
I wish you didn't delete yours either.
But and then
I wanna
the
get
phone
comments
that I had it
that
on
I'm
got
fake as
destroyed
hell.
too. Oh, that shit fake as hell. Oh, the guy said it's not Sunnyside. It's how the fuck do you? It's a piece of sky in the video. Like you
That's
can't.
how Sunny sky. I know that sky.
Like listen, that cloud formation on that day, I know for a fact.
I know for real. Yeah, it's funny because where I'm from, like the supernatural like experience and like mythos and shit is very like real and prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm originally from Eureka, California, which is smack dab in the middle of Humboldt, California, which if you are smoking marijuana at home, you're welcome. No, I'm not one of those dickheads, but it's known for growing a shit ton of fucking weed out in the middle of the redwoods, and a lot of localized crime, a lot of like meth heads, a lot of, it's not necessarily like the greatest place in the world, but it's insanely beautiful. And we have a lot of Sasquatch lore. We have a lot of like alien sightings and supernatural experiences and like different like energy frequencies people I've heard talk about. Like I said, like I don't have a lot of experience with that, so I'm sure I'm...
If you want a good line on like crystals, that's a good place to go.
Oh no, for real. There's like a crystal shop on every fucking corner.
I have
a lot of white people with dreads there.
I have a little poster that's I wish I could post it better because it's double-sided, and so it's like you want to have both sides visible, but if you put it in like a frame, you can't do that. But it's
who would make a double-sided poster? That's dumb.
It's weird, but it's a map of
Humboldt.
the like the redwoods and Humboldt area, and it's all the Sasquatch sightings. In that area.
That's cool. That's really cool.
That's super cool.
So like I definitely grew up with like there's definitely like a magical quality of my hometown that I grew up enjoying. Like it was really easy to like delve into fantasy and like question reality. Living in a place like that. So that's literally one of my first memories is actually this experience where I think I pinpointed my age to about 3 or 4. That's like right before my parents divorced. And also in Humboldt County, there are a shit ton of earthquakes. So literally like my elementary school had like bug out kits for earthquakes where it was just like a giant like barrel, and it was filled with like snacks and water and blankets. Oh yeah, did you?
Yeah. We too get a quake from time to time.
Just every so often.
We used to.
But yeah, when I was growing up, we had a ton of fucking earthquakes though. Like, and I remember it being like a really constant thing. And so I don't know the specific date of this story because I was so young. But the reason why I have the timeline pinned down is that my parents divorced when I was really young, and we lived at this one house before they divorced, and that's where this happened at. And I remember it being sunny and like huge blue skies, just like, so it must have been like spring or summer. And it was warm enough for me to be playing outside on my front lawn. And I was just outside playing. I had this obsession with, remember those troll dolls with the jeweled belly button and the crazy hair?
Love that shit.
So those were like my favorite toys to play with.
So many of those.
Oh my God, they're incredible. So I was outside playing with those when I felt an earthquake come on. And what we had always been taught to do when there was an earthquake was to stop what you were doing and just lay down. Because It was so easy to be injured. You know, like running as a kid and like the earth shaking. So like I fucking laid down.
Like not even like get under something?
No, well, I was outside, so there was nothing to get under. Like, I mean, they taught us to get under tables, but I'm literally outside.
It's little Kayla would have survived if she would have just stood up and walked 3 feet away so that tree wouldn't fall on her.
No, but instead she just laid the fuck down. I did what I was told. Like, I was an obedient child.
Good girl.
So like I lay down and you know, like I'm already sitting on my butt in the grass, so it wasn't like a big deal. Yeah. So like I literally like lower my body down and I can hear everything in my house like crashing. You know, like we had this big giant wood entertainment center that held like our TV, and I heard it like coming down to the ground. And I heard my mom and my dad yelling at each other that an earthquake was happening, which even then I was like, why are they yelling at each other that an earthquake's happening? They can feel the earthquake happening. They don't need to alert the other partner that an earthquake is happening.
Maybe if you hadn't burnt the lasagna, the ground wouldn't be shaking.
God damn it, Kathleen, what's wrong with you? And I
told you I wanted garlic bread.
I remember that this wasn't like my first earthquake, and so I wasn't really scared, especially because I was outside and there were no trees around me. Yeah. And so I just literally just like blinked. And in that blink, it felt like I was all of a sudden like underneath a shadow. And like I said, like this was a bright sunny day. It was warm. I felt warm. And then it was literally like an umbrella covered you. And you feel
like the coolness from the shade.
Yeah, like the coolness from shade. Mm. And I also felt, I think what it can only be described as like a push on my body. Like nothing touching me, but just like a weight over me. Mm-hmm. And in that blink, when I opened up my eyes again, all I can describe as being there was I was looking at the bottom of a ship. And it is never something that I've seen before or have seen since. Yeah. Like, it was definitely above my house. Mm-hmm. And
how far away was it?
Like, you know, probably like 50 to 100 feet up in the air. Like it was well above. So. Yeah, like it was very close.
How big would you say this thing is?
That's the problem. I don't know exactly how big it is, but it was big enough to take up my entire field of vision. Oh, like it literally blocked out the sky for me, and all I could see was the undercarriage of the ship. And it wasn't smooth and sleek. It was like lots of hard edges and corners, like almost stacked tactilely. Oh. And I do recall seeing lights. I don't recall seeing any like gas emissions or anything like that. Like anything that would signify that there is a ship in our atmosphere, like a plane, you know.
Like a chemtrail kind of thing.
And in terms of hearing things, all I could hear was the earthquake, because you gotta remember, I'm still laying down, riding out this earthquake. And earthquakes can be, like, when they're big, they're fucking loud. Mm-hmm. So that's all I can hear is, like, the rumble of this earthquake. And I don't remember being scared. I just remember being profoundly confused. Yeah. Because I literally couldn't fathom what I was looking at.
Especially at such a young age. Like
you don't know what you're looking at.
I think we talked about this in one of the last ones, but when your body, for those of you who haven't experienced anything weird, when you encounter something out of the ordinary, be it, you know, paranormal, something like this, or just like, you know, there's a lot of ways it can happen, but there's a lot of times your brain just doesn't accept or comprehend what's going on, and you almost like fugue state out for a second, and you're just like in like a like the moment, like you're in that present moment.
Yeah.
But like there's almost like a blankness to it, almost, where it's just like all you can do is like see that, but like you don't know what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I can only imagine that's like what like a lot of people back in like the settler days, like you're hanging out and all of a sudden you see like a big ass boat coming across, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like
is
what the
that?
fuck is that? Like that.
They had no
That's
name
the
for it, no
equivalent of
word
an
for
alien
it.
spaceship, you know?
Yeah, and so I don't know, with earthquakes too, like they do weird shit. Like you mentioned gas emissions, but there's like earthquakes can cause like lightning.
Really?
Like, yeah,
I never
like,
heard that.
You can look up videos of it. Like I had never seen it until recently because I forget, somewhere in South America that had like a real big earthquake this last summer or the year before.
It was enough to like change like atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, it changes the pressure enough that like it causes like big like explosions in the sky, basically. And people were saying like this is like proof of aliens. Because like, look, because the aliens caused it. But then like I saw like I love comment sections and those kind of things.
Oh, always.
Because then people came in with like the science behind it. They're like, no, this is actually common. It happens all over the place, and this is why. And you know, I like half read it enough so that I could like know that happens, but I don't know the science behind it.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not fucking Bill Nye, man.
Yeah.
Like I just trying to get through the
neither's,
world.
And neither's Bill Nye.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, I've only been through one earthquake, and I was in school when that happened. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the earth is shaking, which is going to shake everything on the ground, you know. So, and I remember it being super loud.
Yeah.
they're
So
super
yeah,
loud.
I understand that
And-
being the only thing you hear.
And it was still like when I was seeing this, like I said, like I couldn't hear this thing that I was seeing,
Yeah.
but I could hear the loudness of the earthquake, and I could still hear my parents yelling back and forth, like, "Where's Kayla? Are you okay? Like, get down! Like, get underneath the table!" Like, I distinctly remember hearing that they were, but it felt, you know, obviously dimmed out over the rumble of everything that was going on, and then I literally blinked again, and it was gone, and the earthquake stopped, and it was like as soon as I blinked and it was gone, that weight was no longer on me, that shade feeling was like instantly like sunny, big blue skies, like nothing happened, and I
Quiet again.
yeah, and I woke up and I was a little like, you know, I had like sea legs, you know, and I walked into my house and yeah, man, like shit was just fucking knocked over. The entertainment center had turned over. Like my dad was pissed because he had like amps and PAs and stuff, and they had like fallen over. My mom was worried about like our dishes were broken.
So I gotta go paper plates.
Yeah. so I do know for a fact that an earthquake happens. Like so I know that part of it is unquestionable. Because I then remember with us dealing with like going out and having to buy new shit and
now at what point did you like start like remembering that, or did it always stick with you?
It always stuck with me.
But
Like, it's like one of those memories.
At
that
what
would never
age
leave
though,
you.
where you're like, oh shit, like that memory could have been a fucking alien craft?
I mean, I want to say that I probably remembered it in a sense of like, oh, I saw a fucking spaceship when I was probably like 13 or 14, and I think that it was like at a sleepover, friends talking about like if they believed in ghosts and aliens and stuff like that, and I once again, you know, saying like, yeah, I've never seen anything with ghosts, but like I've never seen an alien either. And then in my head I'm like, yeah, but you saw a ship. I didn't say it out loud, but in my head I was like, yeah, but I saw a ship. And that was, but that's always been really difficult for me to acknowledge for a lot of different reasons. Like one, I'm skeptical of my own story and own experiences. But then like I feel like when you're talking about memories and when you're talking about childhood memories, you can get into like gray area really quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I can definitely say that as soon as I'm done telling that story, I can immediately convince you into not believing my story at all. Which is, I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood, period. Like, I actually don't have any memories of my mom and my dad being in the same room at the same time. Like, I have memories of my dad being in the living room and being with my dad, and then I go into the kitchen and I have memories with my mom, so they're obviously in the same house.
Yeah.
But I can't recall a single memory of them like both being like in the living room together or like being in the car together. I also experienced a lot of childhood trauma, and I also have partaken in an exorbitant amount of drugs. So
Yeah, that's something we briefly mentioned on the last one too, is like a lot of people want to like immediately pinpoint someone that like maybe smokes weed or does some
Yeah.
other drugs, and then they hear that person's story and they immediately just say like, oh yeah, how stoned were you when that happened?
and I'm guilty
lot
of
to
it too,
vary,
man.
but-
Like, I'm guilty of it too. Like, I definitely am more trusting of people's like experiences now, like as an adult who's seen some shit. But if I don't know you, if you're like a stranger to me and you are also possibly acting erratically for a variety of reasons, and I know that you're an active drug user,
Yeah.
I immediately am distrustful of your perception of your experience.
Yeah.
Also, this was a fucking earthquake and I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I could remember laying down. I could have fallen down. I could have hit my head. Like, I could have bumped my head and I could have like.
That's what your partner Brian.
Yeah, and that's what my partner Brian. Because here's the thing: I haven't told this story to anyone else outside of like you guys. Now, Kyle, Brian, and like two other of my close friends. Like, this isn't like a publicized story with me. Like, I don't go around being like, I saw a fucking spaceship when I was a kid. Like, because I myself feel uncomfortable, like admitting that I'm someone who had an experience,
Yeah.
but then also I feel insecure in my experience because I feel like it could be explained away. Like, if I was an adult and saw that, I would feel much more secure
Yeah.
in my experience.
Then man, imagine seeing that now. How quickly like your 6 degrees of separation to Tom DeLonge would become.
I was about to say how quickly I would literally shit my pants.
Yeah, that too. I was going the same way with
Yeah.
you. I would say I would just go to the bathroom everywhere.
But also at the same time, like, I can tangibly remember the smell of like warm grass. Like, I can remember the feeling of like heat on my skin.
For sure.
Like, there are so many things about this memory that are so real and so ingrained, but but people are like, oh, well, you could have dreamed it. It's like, yeah, but I don't really have memories of my dreams like that. Like, I'm not a very cognizant dreamer, nor do I remember my dreams well. But yeah, maybe this was a childhood dream, you know?
It's just weird that all of your senses were heightened in other ways. Like, your hearing with the earthquake, the touch, of the grass, or the, with the warmth of the sun and everything, to where with your senses and everything, and then your vision, that be the only part that you question.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only thing that comes to my mind, is that your senses were heightened in all other ways, but then you question just what you were seeing,
what I was actually saying. Yeah, because the other element of skepticism for me is that I was raised on horror movies and sci-fi and action movies. So like, literally my first movies that I watched were Aliens, Predator, fucking you name it. Like, that's what my dad watched, that's what I watched, and like, content wasn't restricted to me because of my age. So like, oh yeah, all the Star Wars movies, for instance, I had seen. So it's like,
And those could be actually kind of intense when you're a kid.
totally, those could be intense as a kid. They could be confusing to reality for a kid.
Yeah.
And also, it means that I had seen different interpretations of spaceships
Yeah, for sure.
until then. So it wasn't like I only fucking watched Blue's Clues and then, oh my god, I saw a spaceship. It's like, yeah, like, this was something that was like in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So
And I didn't see a scary movie that I know of for like a long time.
really,
My family's not into horror or scary movies like at all.
yeah.
Like, I have my family's very vanilla. And like the things they like, they all kind of like Just like the mainstream things they're kind of like supposed to like. And,
Yeah.
You know, it works for them. That's cool.
Yeah, my dad is like an ex-metalhead
Oh, yeah.
and like huge like horror sci-fi nerd. So I grew up with great taste in
I
cinema.
started getting into aliens like young.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, not too young, but like 4th or 5th grade, maybe 3rd grade, because our elementary school library had just like a few books of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember opening up one and like flipping through it, and like someone had done a drawing of like the different like sketches from people's like gray alien encounters, and I was just like, oh shit. But then that's also when I learned like that supposedly there's like more than like one race of alien.
Yeah.
And like that's when you start getting into like the ancient alien stuff and like almost a conspiracy realm of things.
Yeah.
Because there's supposedly the Greys, like the Nordics are supposedly like a set of them. There's more. Like the reptilians.
Oh yeah.
And the reptilians, that gets really big into like the conspiracy world, like David Icke and
oh yeah.
that.
And the funny thing is that you would think that maybe after having this experience that would steer me
to believe it more.
To believe it more and to seek it out more and to get answers and to like really like delve into it. And it really didn't. And and that's bizarre for me. And I think it is because at the end of the day, I mean, like I watched X-Files. I liked the concept of aliens. I liked learning about them, but I wasn't like going deep into it.
Yeah.
And I think because at the end of the day, they also fucking terrified me. Much like with my feelings about ghosts and other supernatural beings. Like hearing these stories about aliens like coming into your house, taking you, putting you onto a ship, doing these studies to you, like having these experiences of like, you know, like being tied down and seeing them over you, like that is literally horrifyingly scary to me. So I didn't want to search deeper into it. Like I liked hearing about other people's experiences, but I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole sheerly out of fear.
I'm kind of like, you know, obviously I'm always into this kind of thing, but like I kind of think like the whole idea of it's just like super cool.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I've said that we've been out in the woods hiking, like out there, and I remember we were somewhere, and I was jokingly being like, "So if there's like any aliens observing us, like you can come and talk to us." And Lonnie's like, "Shut the fuck up."
I was like,
100%.
no, I don't want.
But what
I
if-
was like, no,
what-
you can't, because I was like, I'm not.
What if something
If
just
you're here, it's
manifested
fine,
in front of
I
us and
don't
was just
wanna
like,
see you.
No.
like hi?
Well, then I was like trying to go to
That'd be dope.
bed, you know, and you can't have a campfire where we were, and
Was that a
just-
big copper that I did that?
no, not Copper. It was Lake Dorothy.
Oh,
but
Lake
and I was just like,
Dorothy.
nope. But when we were at Copper Lake, we hiked up and we were
Oh,
camping.
there was something weird at Copper.
And again, an area you can't have campfires. So we were just hanging out in the dark and looking up at the stars. And Steven and I were sitting by the lake, and all of a sudden, in the like, it looked like the middle of the lake. We see like a light,
Just turn on.
but nobody else had been up there.
No, there was another group on the other side of the lake.
Oh, but I mean, it is not the type of hike that you want to hike a boat up
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, that hike sucked.
It was like 4 miles, but it was like a brutal 4 miles.
It's steep.
Yeah.
You can look it up, like Copper Lake up in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. But it was like we literally hiked up there. It was 97 degrees that day.
Jesus
and
Christ.
A big part of the hike, like you're on like the side that's getting the sun.
Yeah.
But then not only that, the people that built the trail, the steps are really tall, and so you guys can't see us now. Like I'm 6'1", like. It was all right for me, but Lonnie here is like 5'3", and she had to crawl up each of those steps.
Jesus
I literally,
Christ.
I looked up, and Steven and like the people we were with, all much taller than me, were fairly easily just kind of taking steps and stuff.
Yeah.
And at this point, I have like a 35-pound pack on me too, and
We thought it would be an easy hike.
and luckily I had hiking poles. But yeah, Steven turned around, and I was literally like using my poles and like dragging myself up like some of these steps, and then not like way too tall for me to just take a step. Like I had to lift my leg up and like climb up.
Yeah, I'd rather be abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
than
Well, yeah, like a light
But,
just
yeah.
came on in the middle of the lake, and we're like, "What the fuck?" And then the group, and we're just like looking at it, and I will preface it: Lonnie was sober, but me and our buddy Mexico, I made some edibles, and then we did the math afterwards, and they were like 800 to 1,000 milligram edibles that we all ate.
Well, Jesus.
Well, we didn't think about it until afterwards, and it was also the worst night of my life, and I thought I was gonna die.
I believe it.
And I'm an advanced stoner, so that was like awful. But somebody on the other side of the lake flashed their flashlight at him.
Yeah.
Like just did like a 1, 2, 3 with it, and then it flashed back like 2 like kind of like long flashes. And we're like, what the fuck?
And
like,
then I think we flashed our headlamps or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it responded to us or not though. But then the light just like went away. So we assumed it was somebody that...
It looked like it went underwater first. It looked like it seriously was like on the water, like maybe somebody in a boat. But we're like, nobody brought a fucking boat up this
Yeah,
high.
you'd have to be a lunatic.
You'd have to be crazy to do that.
Not even like an inflatable like one?
You wouldn't want
the
that
Alpine
weight.
Lakes Wilderness, that water is so cold.
It is.
A lot of it's
It takes
glacier
your breath
runoff.
away how
It's like
cold
snow
that water
runoff
is.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Like I put my foot in it and I was like, no. Mexico jumped in and he like we thought his whole body was gonna cramp up because we were all like, he got back to the rock and everything, but he got out and he was shivering.
Oh God.
And all he did was jump in and immediately get out. He just ended up
Jesus.
laying on a rock for like an hour trying to like, warm up again.
Oh God.
But yeah, it like
that
was
Xbox
floating in the middle, and then it looked like it like went under water, and
That's
then it
fucking
like
bizarre.
just disappeared. And
It kind of looked like it had come up out of the water.
we're like, is there a submarine out here? Like, how deep's this lake go? Like, what the fuck? It was really weird. Because then that next day, I remember there was a lady that hiked down that was with like maybe 2 other people. And we asked, did you stay on the lake? And they hadn't. But then we were trying to find somebody else that had stayed on the lake to see if they had seen it. But I don't think we ended up talking to anybody about it.
That was the morning that we woke up and like we just had to bail out way too early.
No.
But that was a weird one for sure.
But yeah, that was...
It's
like,
it's something
never
you
really...
definitely don't want to see when you're out in the middle of nowhere.
No, absolutely not. Yeah,
and you have nothing.
And along the line of like Steve like welcoming like things to like interact with them, like
Hey, I don't do that anymore.
Good, because that is absolutely something that like I'm not into at all. Like even Brian gives me a hard time because he's a super skeptic. Like he respects me and he loves me. We've been together for 9 years, but like he believes in my belief of my experience, but he believes that something else happened. Like I bumped my head or that I dreamed it or something.
For sure.
But Brian is also like a horror sci-fi nerd buff. And he's always just like, yeah, like, you know, like let's totally like stay in one of those like haunted hotels like for a night. And I'm like, fuck off and die. Like I will not. Like I will not like put myself in a situation where I'm inviting that. And when we were searching for the house that we bought and we were looking at all these other houses, Brian was joking and he was just like, what if we bought a haunted house? And I'm like, then we'd have to immediately sell it and move. Like,
because
like I'm not I did sage my house when we moved in. And I did not have any bad feelings in the house. Yeah. The house felt good, still feels good. Mm-hmm. And I still saged it just in case, because it's like 100-year-old house, and I ain't fucking with that. Like, I would never buy an actively haunted house. I would never stay in an actively haunted mansion.
We looked at a little house in Renton area, and it was a cute little house, you know, and it's like a 2-bedroom. But like we went up to look at the attic, and I was just like, I was not vibing with that house. And was
that the Tukwila one?
Or Tukwila, our real estate agent was just like, oh, I decorate the shit out of this house. This would be so cute, you know. But it didn't have a yard, so we were like, well, out anyways because we have dogs and we doesn't have a yard.
Well, we could have fenced it, but the problem was there was another house that was like in the backyard. It was weird.
No.
It was
This
really weird.
We would have been really close to being neighbors, though.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would have been cool.
But yeah, I was just like, I'm not vibing with this attic and
Yeah.
any of this. It's a cute house. I was like, but I can't. But yeah, I haven't had really like unexplained like UFO kind
Yeah,
of.
neither have I. It's been one of those things. I know it's fucking.
Neither have I. I just recorded an experience on my phone and posted on the internet, but I totally have no experience.
Well, no, like those are all like light.
That shit was fake.
No, those things are
Sunny
all.
and sunny side.
Those things are all very light. Like, I don't think the thing in Sunnyside was a UFO, but it
It
was an
looks-
unexplained floating object.
It
Yeah.
was very convincing of being one, but at the same time, like the only reason that makes me think like what the hell was it was because it was a hot, calm summer day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no wind. There was who would have I mean, yeah, if it's hot out, you might have an umbrella to block the sun, but like there was no wind to grab that.
Yeah.
The
Not
weird,
strong enough to take it up that high or
the weird part was seeing
and it
other
was just
people in the neighborhood. Like,
That's
yeah,
what-
that
that's
would
the
be
other thing.
super surreal
just
for
when
me.
we started talking to some people standing in their yard that were just like,
look into that.
do you see that shit? And like he like went in and like got his wife and like brought her out and was like, you have to see this. Like
Yeah,
It was
that would
fucking
blow my
wild.
mind.
that's when we were kind of like, yeah, this is weird.
Yeah, because like we lived at kind of like a dead end street that's actually now been developed. I actually drove by the house the last time I was in my hometown, and yeah, like it's exactly like how I remember the front yard, except now it's like it has a little chain link fence. I was kind of like more towards like a deader end where there weren't a lot of houses next to us. That's now all developed. So like there wasn't anyone out, or at least I think. Hey, if you're listening to this and you saw what I saw, let me know.
Yeah.
But like there wasn't anyone outside with me. You know, my parents were inside. There weren't any neighbors around. So like I didn't have anyone or anything to anchor myself in reality and be like, are you seeing this? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
is this just me? Like what's going on? So yeah, it was definitely a very surreal experience. But it has literally stuck with me my whole life, and every time I try and question it, I keep on going back to what feels like very real, concrete details that I don't feel like I could make up, but
Right.
you could convince me that I did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, so that's it. That's my spoopy story.
I dig it.
I like it.
I believe you.
Oh yeah, validation.
Well, I believe you only because, like I had said, is all your other senses seemed so heightened. Like, what would make your vision be
Yeah.
the only thing so
I don't know.
strong?
Maybe I got hit
I
by a
start-
car.
I
I'm
start
looking up
thinking of,
underneath
like-
the car.
I start thinking of like just like explanations for it. just
Yeah.
Since I'm like a weirdo and a conspiracy theorist
No,
and all that
yeah.
kind of stuff. So it's like I could see somehow because like if an earthquake can change the atmospheric pressure or do whatever it does to make lightning, thunder, various things, like I could see how it could probably disrupt the energy around where if we are being observed by something, like it could very well like get rid of its cloaking momentarily, or maybe it's not even in this dimension, and it's just something that is not aware of you. You're not aware of it.
Yeah.
Briefly shook out, but I don't know. Just weird. There's a lot of ways it could go with it,
Yeah.
but
I'm open to possibilities, but I'm trusting my gut on what I feel like I experienced.
yeah.
So yeah.
And there's a dude.
You would know better than anybody else.
There's a guy that
I guess.
we're gonna
Maybe.
be tracking. There's a guy we're gonna be
Maybe.
tracking down here pretty soon, and hopefully he's willing to talk with us. I've talked with him through an intermediary, a friend of mine is friends with him. But there's a dude that we're hopefully going to be talking to who honestly believes that he has been in contact with aliens his whole life. Multiple types that have been watching him. I believe that he is... oh, here comes Birdie into the mix. Big Birdie. She's going to breathe right into the microphone.
Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So hopefully we can get him on
I hope
and
so
get a
too.
good conversation
I
with
would
him.
love to hear his experience. Try
Yeah,
and see if any Because that's the thing is that whenever I do hear about other people's experiences with UFOs or aliens, I'm always like searching for like a nugget of truth to my own experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So with him feeling like he's been in contact with multiple kinds over the years, I would really love to hear his story and see if there's any nuggets of mine in his.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
To see if there's any sort of cross, like,
Right.
memory of that or resemblance or
Or just other kind of similar.
Yeah, just the similarities of
the look of it.
Of everything, yeah.
No. But also at the same time, yo aliens, what up? Please leave me alone. Once was enough. I'm good.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, obviously I'm just, I talk myself up probably thinking I'm braver than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like depending on if I ever were to see an alien, like a legit alien, I feel like I would handle it all right depending on the type. Like, I feel like if I saw a fucking gray, like, it'd be like, oh shit, but I'd be like, all right.
I would do a horrible
But
job.
I also have a theory
I
also have a theory about grays though, because, and I'm not the only one. Like, but it would make sense to me. Like, if humans were to go explore the cosmos, most likely we're not going to send humans to do it. We're gonna send some form of AI, and so there's a theory out there that the greys are actually like cybernetic organism drones, essentially.
Oh, from like future us?
I'm sure that's a theory. Because I also have talked about how I think aliens are just time travelers.
Yeah.
Which I have a lot of theories on it.
Oh, I know.
But
you're full of them.
Yeah. But like one of the theories out there is that they're just kind of like drones from somewhere else. And so it would make sense that like you don't know the pressure, like the atmospheres, the oxygen, like nitrogen. Like look at Mars Attacks. Those little fuckers had to chew gum to stay alive. Like you never know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
It's an overlooked thing in a lot of sci-fi.
Yeah, that's
But
no, I mean that's definitely like an interesting theory. I just know that if I saw one, I would immediately throw up on myself.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Every bodily function would just happen to me.
Yeah, like I feel like I would process it fine later, but like I don't think that staring it in the face I would do well. Like I would probably freeze in shock and then I would just eliminate out of every orifice I have.
I'd probably attempt to scream, but it would come out like.
I've learned that I'm not a screamer when I'm scared or startled. I'm an angry grunter. So yeah, so if I met a fucking gray, they'd be like, "Oh, look, it's a human specimen," and I just look at it and go. They'd probably be like, and this one's as dumb as the rest. On to the next.
When Lonnie gets scared, she just freezes up like a fainting goat.
That's why I'm like, I would not be able to
terrifying.
function.
Like I'm lucky, and maybe this would be a bad thing, but and Lonnie can even let you guys know this is true. Like a lot of times when I freak out, like I just kind of flail and like throw arm or leg out.
It's like he almost thinks he's a ninja or something because he'll like kind of get in the stance and be like, huh,
But the way I throw my hand, that if there was something there that I actually did have to punch, I'd break my wrist.
Yeah.
Snow on her.
Oh.
Snowing.
Oh my goodness, it is.
Our
snowing.
dog just walked in and there's snow on her. It doesn't snow in this area very often, so.
Cold nose.
Well, thank you, Kayla, for being a part of our third episode.
Thanks for having me on. I will make sure to blast you guys again on my podcast, I Want to Wear Your Skin. We're a lifetime movie review podcast where we get drunk and high and tell you about a really terrible movie.
Yeah. Where can we find your podcast?
You can find us on all podcast apps, including iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio.
No shit.
Yeah. We're on literally like anywhere you can get a podcast. I'm not shitting you, literally on it. Did I say Spotify? Because we're on Spotify too.
That's great.
So that's cool if you don't want to download another app. But we also have a Patreon. We're about to release merch. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff.
That's awesome.
Cool,
Well, thank
cool.
you.
Of course.
Everybody check out their podcast.
Yeah,
Again, it's I Want to Wear Your Skin. It's great.
And you can find us, the We Believe You podcast, right now. It's just webelieveyou.podbean.com. You can also find us on SoundCloud. Pretty soon we will be on everything. Once we have a few more episodes, is kind of when they let you on. So, yeah, we're going to have next week, our next few episodes actually, we're going to have more submitted things. Hopefully we're going to have a nice interview with somebody that has a crossover with a date night episode that we're going to talk about. A very, very fun one. We think you guys are going to like that. We just wanted to separate some ghost episodes, so had to get some of that in between. But yeah.
Email us your stories at the We Believe You podcast at gmail.com
Or hit us up on Facebook.
or Instagram at We Believe You podcast.
Yeah.
And music is done by Tim Held, host of, if I'm going to say this, Podular Modcast.
Yeah.
Design is done by Doomtooth.
Yep. And we're working on a new sponsored thing with Dead Northern Clothing. Check it out, deadnorthern.com. Awesome, just gloomy Northwest hoodies and t-shirts.
I own it. They own it.
I'm wearing it right now.
It's a mood. It's a mood kind of clothing.
Yeah, it's damp. It's damp as fuck.
Yeah.
Damp as fuck.
So, yeah, thank you all for listening. Everything is going to continue to get better as we figure all of this out. So we appreciate you tuning in, and thank you.